Hello everyone, my name is Erica. Welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I will be teaching you about count versus non-count nouns. So what am I even talking about? Basically in English, we have certain words that we can count. So we can say like 1, 2, 3, and words that we cannot count. And we have to use these nouns, these words in very specific ways. So it might sound a bit complicated, but I promise you, once I explain it, you'll be an absolute expert at this. So if you are a beginner English learner and you like to learn English for free here on YouTube, please subscribe as I'll have a lot more lessons coming out for you. But anyway, let's get started. So what are nouns? So nouns, a noun is any word that is used to describe a person, a place, or a thing. So, for example, we can have a cat. A cat is a noun, it's a thing. Democracy, it's also a thing. Emma Watson, a person, so she's a noun too. Miami and Toronto are both places, so they're also nouns, okay? So, what do I mean by count versus non-count? What does that mean? All right, so basically it's talking about quantity, so the amount. How can we express quantity? So with some nouns, we can use an indefinite article like a or an. So for example, a person, an apple, a cat, or numbers, so like one apple, two cats, three people, to express quantity. So, but with others, we can't. So look at these words here. If you have some experience with English, you're going to notice that some of these sound weird. So two apples, a rice, a horse, three flowers. Which of these words do you think sounds a little weird? So the ones that are a little weird are a rice and three flowers. That doesn't make sense in English, and I'm going to explain to you why in this video, okay? So let's get started now with countable nouns. So what nouns can we count and how do we know that we can count them? So countable nouns. So these are, with countable nouns, we can use a or an or a number to describe the quantity. So look at this picture. We have three oranges. So these are nouns that we can say three and we can add an S to the end, basically, okay? So for example, let me explain more. So can you count the amount of objects? Okay, so can you count the amount of oranges? All right, so three oranges, 1, 2, 3. You can count oranges, right? So that makes oranges a countable noun. Dogs, can you count an amount of dogs? 1, 2, 2 dogs. That makes it a countable noun. Books, 3 books, 4 books, 5 books, 1 book, you can count. Girls, a girl, 1 girl, 3 girls. Okay, so notice how when there's more than one of that noun, like when we have 2, there's an S at the end. So basically, if you see the S at the end, that means it's going to be a countable noun. Okay, if you can add an S at the end of the word and it makes sense in English, it's a countable noun. You can count it. Okay. All right, so we can use a, an, or number. So we can say like 2 dogs, 3 dogs, 5 dogs, okay? But if you look at the other examples, now we're gonna go to non-count. So words that you can't say that. You can't say 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't say okay, or an. So here we're gonna go to non-countable nouns. Nouns that you can't count. You can't give them numbers. So non-countable nouns. They refer to things that we can't specifically count. So we can't count the amount. Okay, so you can't say 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to say something else. So these are words like rice. 1 rice, 2 rice, doesn't make sense. Flour, pasta, grass, right? You don't say, oh, 1 grass. No, doesn't make sense. Water, sugar, beauty, liberty, oh, beauty again, happiness, research, intelligence. You can't say 1 happiness, 3 happiness. those are nouns, but you can't count it, right? So how do we describe more than one or an amount of these? Let's check it out. So remember, we're talking about quantity. So to describe quantity, we can use words like some, a lot, a little, or much. Okay, so I can say some happiness, a lot of intelligence, a little bit of water, a little rice, some flour, um, too much flour, stuff like that, too much water, right? So these words are what we use instead of one, two, three, four, because you can't count it. You can't count water, rice, flour. So that's why we need to use these more generic words to describe amount. Okay, so you can use these, or we can use exact measurements. So we can say 1 pound of flour, 3 cups of rice, 4 liters of water, a teaspoon of sugar, for example. So we can use these two to describe our uncountable nouns. So basically, if you can count it, you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can add an S at the end. It works. It's a countable noun. If you can't do that, if you cannot count it, it makes it uncountable, and you need to use these words, these ones here, to describe quantity. All right? One last thing. So now we have countable versus uncountable. So rice, that is an uncountable noun. However, if we want to make it countable, we could say a bowl of rice. Okay, so here we have a bowl of rice. One bowl, that makes it countable now. Flour, you can't count it, right? Uncountable. However, to count it, we can say 3 bags of flour, right? A bag to hold it in, right? That makes it countable. 3 bags of flour is countable because we're talking about bags. But flour in itself, nope, can't count it. Water, uncountable. However, a glass, one of these, of water, is countable. Look how we have the word of everywhere. Of. Air, you can't count air. 1 air, 2 airs, 3 airs. Doesn't make sense. So we can say a breath of fresh air. 1 breath, right? A breath itself is countable, but it happens to be a breath of air. All right? So here was my lesson on countable versus non-countable nouns. I hope you enjoyed, and if you'd like to have some more simple English lessons, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!